This video.
Oh, sorry. Oops. I cannot get the MacBook style. Yeah, then. It's okay lah. It just looks so fair. Yeah. Alrighty. Let me see who is in. Who's in? Let me see. Ken. Hello, Ken. Ken is who? Ken is you. Ken is no. Ken is new one. Hi, Ken. Wow, you are early. We normally give a bit of time for more people to come in. Hi. So, have you taken your dinner already? We are very early. It's another 4 more minutes to 8 o'clock. So, if you're having a dinner, enjoy your dinner, and I will give a bit of time for the rest to come in. All right. Meanwhile, let me just play some video for you guys to watch, okay? I don't know how to play the video. All right. Okay, let's just watch some video while waiting for the rest to come in, okay? No sound though. Wait. Oh, bit soft. Can hear or not?
And yeah.
Can hear or not? Cannot hear you. Can you tell me?
Yeah.
No sound. Interesting. Louder a bit. No? It's not easy to manage this.
In the long term, expecting like a good passive income for my retirement.
Yep.
Properties is a good hedge, I would say. So even if I'm not around, it will be passed on to my kids, and that's a good way that at least they can leverage it on for their higher education or their future.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why Singapore properties are good for the long term. I believe investing in Singapore is more trustworthy and very open. So it's also transparent in terms of regulations and new developments in the region. So we can clearly map out and see what are the enhancements or regional developments in that location. It's very nice to see that there will be appreciation in the future before investing. So we have our own fears when it comes to property investments. So I would urge everyone to come out of your comfort zone and leave behind your fears. Singapore is a very, very safe place to invest when it comes to property investments. We have to jumpstart our financial planning as young as possible, and property investment is the best and it's very, very safe. So I thank Kelly for supporting me through this journey and to make my dreams come true. So we thank as a family Live a Home ST for their support and guidance throughout the journey.
Live a Home SG. We take your home as our home. Bye.
Welcome to Live a Home SG's Let's Hear It from the Ground series. Whenever you think of upgrading or transiting from one property to another, do you often find yourself having the same dilemma that many sellers face? Two common concerns I often hear on the ground are: number one, do we have ample time to buy if we sell too fast? Or should we sell first and buy after? Second, if I am intending to upgrade with minimal cash down payment, is that even possible? The reason why you could be experiencing these uncertainties is because you may find the information presented online being too unclear or too scattered. Perhaps another reason could be due to feeling unsafe that we could end up not having ample time to move out, thus resulting to having to find last-minute rentals, which can be hefty in cost. The worst is miscalculation in finances, which either could be selling at a lower than expected selling price or purchasing an overpriced property. In today's Let's Hear It from the Ground series, we have Colin, who has been one of my longest-term client turned friends. Colin has just successfully purchased his new home, where he has been looking forward to moving closer to town for his family's convenience. Also, he has gotten a super smooth transition, which has enabled him to transit seamlessly from one home to another. Let's find out how he feels about the process and what tips he has to give for sellers like you.
Yeah, hi, Kelly. Myself and my wife, our 4-year-old son, our help out, we were looking to move closer to the town. We originally were living in the north part of Singapore, and we were looking, to move closer to town. We've known Kelly as a family now for 5 or 6 years. She helped us with our previous purchase of property, so we were very happy to go back and speak to Kelly again. There's a number of things we encountered over the process, and there's some things I would like to say to anybody who was undergoing this. This process for us started in January of last year, when Kelly came over and explained to us in great detail the process and the financial stages we would go through. That, for us, was probably the most important meeting we had. At that point, we decided to pause for 6 months. We came back in July and restarted the process.
Yeah, let me know.
For us, throughout this purchase, we found that the communication was the most important thing to resolve any hiccups that are going to happen in a complicated and dynamic environment like Singapore.
They know that
We're not just buying a house, so selling a house. And for most people, certainly for ourselves, the purchase and the sale of your property is probably one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. And going to a top professional like Kelly and her team was something I would highly recommend for anyone to do in those circumstances. The internet is not your friend. It's overwhelmingly complicated. You need someone with the communication skills, professionalism, and experience to guide you through this process. And I would recommend anybody in similar circumstances to go to a professional, and I would certainly recommend Kelly and her team if you're in that position.
So Colin, can I ask you as a seller, were there any hiccups along the way?
There are always hiccups in a complicated sale like a house. You're dealing with many different stakeholders, the purchaser, their agent, HDB, government agencies and lawyers. There are always things that go as you don't expect them. And you should be.
You want to send a message to them to tell them
in your opinion, how were these problems dissolved?
The best way is through clear and effective communication. Sometimes you don't understand, as someone who doesn't work in property, the expectations and especially the timelines involved. Sometimes these timelines can be very extended compared to what you expect. And you need the reassurance from your property professional that things are progressing well. Communication and integrity and trust will solve all of these problems.
Got it. So what advice or tips do you have for all the sellers who are watching this?
Sellers or buyers, the Singapore property market is a dynamic and complicated world. Things that are true today may not be true tomorrow. Professionals, find someone you can establish a good relationship with, that's got good communication skills, that understands the market, and listen to them would be my advice.
Thank you, Colin, for your time. I hope this information was helpful for you. If you're keen to find out more on how we are able to customize each and every client's housing transition smoothly for both financial and timeline aspects, feel free to drop me a message and I will keep in touch with you. I'm Kelly from Live a Home SG. Live a home. We take your home as our own. Bye.
All right.
Hi everyone, I'm Daniel. This is my wife, May.
Okay, we have more and more people coming in. Hi, good evening, everybody. And all right, I'm seeing more and more people tuning in. Super awesome. And my name is Kelly, and I see a few familiar and new faces here as well. So for those of you who are here for the first time in my webinar, welcome, welcome, because over here in the webinar, what we want to achieve for you is to make sure that you learn all the essential tips on how do you select a right property, and also how do you look at your entry and exit strategy. Of course, at the same time, since you already signed up for the webinar, I also want to highlight to you that it is equally important for you to actually learn how to apply this into your daily, or rather your property selection. So this is the very first time I'm breaking down the actual step-by-step guide also to how we apply this SAFE framework for all our clients whenever they are thinking of asset progression. Now, some of us are actually in a state that we already own a property, which most of us are from what I'm seeing, and we are actually thinking whether we want to upgrade at this point of time or not. But with the market uncertainty, I believe most of us are also equally concerned whether if I had just wait a little bit more, maybe my house can sell at a higher price, or maybe I can buy at a lower price. So today I'm going to kind of debunk with you exactly how do you identify what kind of market are we positioned in today. Also, I will be actually sharing with you the exact case studies one after another on how do we deal with all the different challenges that you might be facing. For example, how can we apply the SAFE framework into our property plans? How can we assess and know that we are in a good position to upgrade? Or if I'm actually losing money, why? Or if I'm thinking of upgrading, how do I do the right property selection? And fortunately for you, all of you here today, I'm noticing that, okay, I have more and more people coming in. And fortunately for all of you here today, we will be sharing all this with you, of course, in a bite-sized manner. Otherwise, I'm going to go on for 6 hours nonstop. And definitely there will be a lot of Q&As for you to ask questions, and feel free to ask questions because I do want you to have enough takeaway at the end of this 90-minute session. All right, without further ado, as usual, all the information that are presented to you are done by my own analysis. And if there's anything that you find that you don't understand, please feel free to reach out to me in person or ask questions in the chat below so I can know how to, cater for your questions, your needs, and so on. Okay, just give me a minute. I want to open up all the... Okay, great. So, yes. So, a quick question. How many of you are actually owning an asset right now? How many of you are actually owning an asset right now? Help me to understand you better. If you are owning an asset right now, can you type me a Y? And if you are a first-time upgrader and you're thinking, I do want to upgrade, just not too sure whether I do want to buy a property, but I'm not sure about the timing. I don't own any property right now. Then can you type me a no? Okay? Come on, we do welcome any responses because it's very important for us to keep each other engaged. Otherwise, you're going to feel really boring with me over here. I just keep on talking and talking, and you guys are not going to really learn much from it. Okay? Yeah, okay. I have a Y over here. All right. Hi, Fiona. Welcome in. You are 1 minute late, but don't worry. I just started, Fiona. Yeah? All right. All right. Anyone else? Okay, so I have people who are holding on to property. I have people who are not holding on to property. And for those of you who's not answering, I absolutely get it. Perhaps you're a bit too shy to answer, or perhaps you are actually on your phone or something. Oh yeah, before I forget, today's session includes a lot of charts, trends, and data. I highly encourage you to actually use an iPad or a laptop if you can, because the screen is big enough for you to see what I'm presenting. Okay? So if you're holding on to a property, right, can you help me to look at this and tell me if there is a wish that you want to have for your next upgrade or your first property, what would that be? Will you be thinking of upgrading into a bigger space regardless of type? Will you be thinking of, I want to find a right opportunity in the current market? Or I want to find a chance to buy low, sell high? Or I want to expand my property portfolio? Or I want to make money? Can you share with me in the chat group which number do you belong to? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Well, you can choose more than one if you want to. Just to let me have some understanding on what are you guys looking at for this particular part. Like if you want to go into the next property or upgrade, what would that be? All right. I have 2, 3, 5. Hello. Hello, Jennifer. Welcome. You're in a very new series today. Jennifer wants to find right opportunity, wants to buy low, sell high, wants to make money. Okay, absolutely. Ash wants 5. Anyone else? Don't be shy. You can answer me as we go along. All right. Everyone wants to make money. Cool, cool, cool. Got it. Lee, I know that. I know you want to make money. So do I. Okay. And Janelle, 3, 4, and 5. Splendid, splendid. So while we go on to the depth of the conversation as we go on, I want to let you know that in real estate context in Singapore, we always categorize property investment in 3 different stages. What do I mean? Like 3 different stages usually starts from when you are actually at your first home. Some of us as Singaporeans, we go for BTO, or we buy a resale flat taking a grant from government, or we buy an EC or a private condo as our first property. And if you remember, as the very first property, we will now start to accumulate our wealth. So this wealth accumulation starts as young as you own your first property. But as time goes by now we will all know that there are properties who actually appreciate, which most of them did over the years. As the properties appreciate over the years, we now advance into our advanced growth, which is in our mid-age. Some of them call mid-age crisis. Some of us say mid-age transformation. It depends whether you are in a crisis or in a transformation. Because why? At the end of the day, at the age of approximately 40, we will be thinking about what is next. I have a BTO, I have a house, but I want to elevate my asset. I want to grow better in my net worth. I want to be able to stay in a better lifestyle, a better home. And that's where we go into our advancement stage. And most of us are pretty much at this stage because why? We'll be thinking about, okay, now I want to elevate my asset. How do I go about doing it? Should I look at profit? Should I look at asset net worth? Or should I actually think about retirement? Because retirement seems like a very big word to many of us. Some of us, even if you are in investment, will be thinking of the return on equities and all this kind of stuff. So that's where we are at in our advanced growth. And along this 40 years old to approximately 60 years old, or some of us even at 55 years old, we will now progress into the 3rd stage of our property investment, which we now call as the cash flow stage. What do I mean by cash flow stage? It means that we are one big step closer towards our retirement plan. And as retirees, our main objective is to ensure that we have enough cash flow to finance us while we decide not to work anymore. Which means that when you accumulate enough wealth over here, the amount of money, let's say for some of us, is maybe 4 million or 5 million. By the time we reach our retirement age, we will now cash out all these monies that we have accumulated and probably diversify into commercial properties, industrial properties, overseas properties, and fully pay them because we'll be taking a loan. And of course, one as a roof over our head. And quite frankly, based on experience, a lot of people at this age, they don't need a big house already. Why? Because they don't want to do housework. And they just want to make sure that they have enough cash to do whatever they want. Probably they want to travel and stuff. So that's why they own multiple diversified properties in order to fund them for their cash flow. But think about it. Had we not started since young and built into our advancement stage and then go into our retirement age, we probably will never be able to reach this stage about positive cash flow. I'm sure some of us who actually have our parents or even friends around us or older age, our senior citizen friends around us, most of them, if they don't plan for this, they might be actually owning one HDB asset. And if they are owning one HDB asset, the only concern I have is the HDB probably is valued at 600,000 by the time they reach 60 to 65. Really, 600,000 cannot possibly build them any more cash flow unless they rent out the rooms. So, but for us, when we want to build towards our retirement, we need to have big dreams. And later on, towards the end of the webinar, I will be sharing with you how do you calculate how much you need to set aside when you decide to stop working. And then you will be able to know what kind of gap are you at before you decide if this is the right time for you to upgrade or not. So of course, at this point, we also know that our Singapore's core inflation, unlike the previous news that we've been hearing about 3.3% and so on, we are actually still holding steady at 1.4% in the month of May. And interestingly, as we go on to the inflation rates on Singapore, we notice that our overall economy, our overall inflation rate is actually still very healthy since 2022 all the way until 2026, which means the only one time that really hit us very badly, you and me, is during COVID, or rather post-COVID. It's a time when we realize $10 can no longer buy us many things. And we realize $50 is almost equivalent to $10. And this is directly impactful when you go into NTUC and you buy things and you realize, oh, now everything is $50 to $100. And that's a time where people are now being more aware that I better do something to plan to fight against inflation, because my income is not going to substantiate the upcoming growing cost of living in Singapore. Fortunately, I was having this conversation with a client of mine. He was telling me that taxes in overseas are really high, and we as Singapore are really fortunate to be paying low tax, and you know who you are, right? So I do thought about it, and I can make sense of it, because although our cost of living here is really high, we also have been paying very healthy taxes to our government, and probably with a very strong economy, there's no need for us to go through very high inflation. But we cannot also avoid the fact that our tariff, our electricity, is going to be on the rise, which means it's going to be rising by 17%, and the gas tariff by 7.1% for the next quarter. And mind you, this news only published in June 30, which is just only merely last month. With this, I was having a conversation with my husband. I was telling him that, hey, we better make sure that now we keep a lot of cash on our hand, man. Because otherwise, with all this rising cost of living, which you need electricity, you need gas, you need water, all these are actually part of our family finances cost, and we make sure that we have enough investments that are positive investments, and also our income better, if not increasing, we better keep enough cash with us. So Singaporeans right now, as you're watching my video, I want to highlight to you that this is real. The rising cost of living in Singapore, even though our income tax is low, the rising cost is real. Even though inflation is low, electricity, gas, and water is inevitably going to go up. So let's think about this. How many of you then agree now that planning for inflation and rising cost of living is important? If you feel that it is very, very important for us to plan for inflation and accommodate or embrace the rising cost of living, type me a 1. Okay, I want interaction. Okay, I see familiar responses. I want new people to respond to me so I know whether you can understand what I'm talking about. So yeah, okay, Jennifer types 1. And okay, we know that planning for Singapore's rising cost is important, and most of us will agree that it's 1. But if you feel that, for whatever reason, you feel that, hey, I don't think there's a need for me to plan, it's just let things like flow in slowly and everything will just iron out itself. If you are someone like that, type me a 2. If you are someone like that, you feel that I don't need to plan so much, okay? Just move with the flow. I believe things will iron out by itself. Just give me a 2. Okay, I want to see whether there's any one of us who really believe that, we can work on with inflation. Okay, so with this, most of us would have agreed that it is very important to plan for rising cost of living. So let me give you a case study, a real case study that I have done for my client. So from this picture, you can see that this is a client that, quite frankly, not the easiest client that I ever had, because the husband is actually working as an IT analyst and the wife is in finance. So knowing that, actually both of them are super sensitive with numbers, and they have interviewed more than 20 agents, I think. Oh yeah, about more than 20 agents or so, we thought, for the past 2 years before their uni actually started MOPing. And nobody could really help them to solve what they were looking at, because they know they need to upgrade. They just couldn't make sense of why they need to. So after working with them for about 6 months, fortunately, we were able to help them to get clarity about why they need to do this. So to me, or some of us who know me, like Jennifer and stuff, you know that to me, I don't believe that buying property here is a rat race. I do not agree that we should actually be upgrading for the sake of upgrading, because there must always be a very clear end goal in mind. So this is what we want to do for you as well, because retirement planning, fortunately in Singapore, property can help us to do our retirement planning. So with this, we did a retirement goal analysis setting. We set our goal on retirement, and then they became clear that they needed a 6 million by 2035 because, mind you, youngsters these days do want to retire early. So with that, they had a HDB MOP unit. We managed to stock at their record price of 860,000 only by 2 viewings. We helped them to restructure into Promenade Peak and Park Esta, one being 2 million and one being 1.7 million, with a total net worth of 3.7 million in the year 2025, which I mentioned is really pretty early, last year only. And then their next plan is they do want to move into Promenade Peak, because by the time it will have already appreciated, and then they will sell Park Esta, and then they will enter again for the next new launch at 2.5 million. So the total net worth by the time they actually flip again in the year 2030 to 2031 is worth 5 million. Now, if you notice that I never really talk about profit at this point, because what we want to do is we want to do what is manageable and what is predictable. With this, the total net worth is 5 million. And actually, by the year 2030 to 2031, they already have a net worth of 5 million. If they decide to just stay put and do nothing, they will end up just fully paying these 2 properties and still have a net worth of 5 million, excluding all the profits. So they're really one major step ahead. And all this is done just merely by 4 years, which is amazing. And then the next plan is that they want to swap over to the other property, so that they can have a combined net worth of 6 million by the age of 2035. So some of you who are looking at this, you could be wondering, can this actually be done, meh? So to break down how we do our SAVE framework is this. So the step 1, what we do is we actually set clear property goals. So by setting clear property goals, it actually helps us to know that we are not doing this for the rat race. We are not doing this because our friends are doing it and that's why we are doing it. We're doing it because we are very clear how can we upgrade from our existing assets, because most of us actually hold one asset. How can we upgrade without touching our savings? So if you do own a property right now and you are thinking, I want to upgrade, I just try not to touch my savings. Is there something that we can do about it? Then fortunately, this is something that I can do for you. Okay, I cannot tell you that the next property upgrade cannot touch your savings, because it depends on how big a quantum you want to go into. But is there a chance for us to possibly see us upgrading without touching savings? Absolutely, because we have done plenty of cases that I lost count on upgrading without touching savings. And of course, it's case-to-case basis. And this is just one of the example we did. When we look through the individual profiling of individual clients, they are buying as a couple or they may be buying as an individual entity. We actually have all these numbers in place. So then this brings us to the next step. The next step is we now work out how much we need for our retirement by the time they want to retire at 60 years old. Most of us want to retire around 60 based on the market common, grounds. There are also some of us who are thinking, maybe I want to just retire at 50, right? 50, right? You want to retire at 50. And then there's also some of us who want to retire at 55. So there is definitely no right, no wrong answer. But I do see that the majority of us will be aiming at 60 years old to retire. Which means that if you want to retire at 60 years old, you better make sure that you know exactly how much your inflation is affecting you based on your basic expenses every month. So let's take, for example, Desmond. When I met him, he was at the age of 35. And for him, he loved to travel. Traveling is his life. So after working out the sums on how much he will be using for traveling and how much he needs to take care of himself, his basic expenses add up to 4,500 in the current market context. And not to forget that inflation is approximately 3 to 4% per annum, right? So with that, of course, some may be debating, oh no, some may be 2, some may be 3, but I will use between 3 to 4. So with this, at the current rate of 4,500, if he were to retire at the age of 60, the same amount of 4,500 would have already been inflated until $11,996 by the time he decides to stop working. Now, please don't take out a calculator and start working out the numbers, because later I'll give you the exact formula on how to do this. So once you have these figures, you now know that at the age of 60, the same figure today, 4,500, will have already become 11,996. With that, the next question that comes to my mind is, I need to set aside every year 11,996 multiplied by per year. And that's why we'll derive at 144,000 approximately. And then we multiply from 60 years old to 85 years old to know how much we need to set aside by the time we reach 60, which means no more income, but I need to make sure I can take care of myself. Secondly, also, some of us may want to stay in a HDB if we want to retire. If we want to stay in the HDB when we want to retire, then we also need to set aside money for that, isn't it? And that usually amounts to about 600 to 700,000 depending on where the HDB you want to buy. Of course, things like emergency funding also has to come in play. So by adding all these numbers together, Desmond will now know that he needs to set aside about 4.5 to 4.6 million if he decides to stop working at 60 years old. Now, this is only one example that we have done for his HDB. We have also moved on to condo with a 2-bedder fully paid condo and so on. Now, I'm going to spare you all these details because I'm showing you exactly what can be done, because some clients will be asking me, can I work towards retirement? How to? The number is so big, I don't even know how to plan. So fit not, because it can be done systematically, and that's why setting clear property goals is important before I can tell you where are we at right now. After you have your clear property goals, that's where we go into our next step. Next step is where we now assess your current positioning. While current positioning for some of them could be one home right now, or some of them could be one landed home. Some of us could be owning a HDB or no property at all. When you don't own anything or you own anything, we still have some positioning that we are at somewhat. We are all working adults. So then we will be able to assess how much the property is valued at and how can we max out the selling price, because that's what we want to know, right? We want to be able to sell high and we want to be able to buy low. So my job is to make sure that I help my client to sell high, even though the valuation is of a certain amount. And then after that, we also assess the possible loan amount that he can go up to, or both of them can go up to, so that we can now look at what are your options. For them, their options can be either a new project or a resale project. And eventually, we are also able to work out the difference in the initial outlay so that we try to avoid using our savings. Some of us are thinking, I want to get the best of both worlds. I want to make money. I want to buy as a new property. I want to buy low. I don't want to touch my savings. So believe me, alongside with you, I try my best to do this with you. And the first priority that we want to do is we want to compare the difference in the outlay so you can now access, or they can now access, whether which one makes sense for them. Okay? So with this, it gives us some sensing on our financial positioning. And that's why now we can look at, if we are looking for a new launch, what kind of payment schemes are we looking at? Payment scheme include, as new launches are going in progressive payment, the amount of installment is actually in staggered form. And because it's staggered, some of us even have extra CPF savings accumulated over the months or the year. So therefore, we also will be able to assess how much cash will you now start using by the time you need to pay your mortgage. Because the benefit of new one is progressive payment. Fortunately, for most of us who are actually full-timers, we have CPF contribution. With CPF contribution, the foundation stage for most of the new launch only call at after 6 months onwards. So basically, when we buy a new launch at the initial phase 1, the first calling of foundation stage is stage 6 to 9 months later. Because it's 6 to 9 months later, there's basically no installment for that period. And that's why most of us are able to have CPF savings before the actual installment kickstarts. Once the actual installment kickstarts, it's usually in very low amounts. So the low amount depending on our quantum, but you will have CPF savings over there to start to finance your mortgage together with your monthly CPF OA contribution. So with this, it also helps us to see clearly that the time when you start to pay cash for some of us will only be probably at the car park stage or the TOP stage. That's why you will realize all the savings that you have in your CPF is now able to help you to tank all the monthly mortgage together with your monthly contribution until car park stage or TOP, and that's the time you actually get to move in. Otherwise, if you want to rent it out, actually the rental will also start to substantiate and pay for your mortgage and your contribution as we go along. So these are things that are under discussed for most of you, and a lot of us are only focusing on the quantum that I'm buying into, the maximum monthly mortgage that I'm paying. Is it something that I can pay? But do be mindful that if you really know your numbers, we will work out these kind of details to really have clarity on whether we can afford or we should give it a miss. So that's that for assessing on current positioning. After which, we will now formulate the entry and exit strategy. Most of us at this point of time would be really excited to do this because we are somehow 50% ready. We have all our finances in check. We know our property, how much we can sell. We know what to do about it. Let's move on to what can I buy now and what kind of opportunities can I enter into. When we now know how to formulate entry and exit strategy, it becomes clear on what is in for you as a potential upgrader and what is in for my clients when they work for me. So things like that, we actually work out like, oh, when we purchase a property for, let's say we are comparing between a two-bedder or two-bedder plus study, we will look at the first 3 years and also if we rent it out, what kind of returns are we getting? So this also gives you a very clear direction on what kind of net profit are we looking at, what kind of savings do we have, and also what kind of net worth are we expecting in the next 3 years' time. For their case, it's 3 years SSD. After that, moving forward, every one of us is 4 years. So for them was 3 years period. And then we are also able to work out what kind of return on investments, return on equity are we having. So you can make a sound judgment for yourself whether which property works best for you. Now, I find this very, very important because at some point when we started viewing house, we also want to ensure that, we don't buy because of emotions. We buy because of logic. So those who know me, I am a very, very logical person because why? I think if we want to go into property as investment, a part of it is our emotion, but a bigger part of it is sensible or not. So with this, it also helps the client to know exactly what are we trying to achieve, how much savings will we have on hand by the time we reach a certain age, and how much shortfall are we having towards our project 10 million, that's for them. Okay, so that is only the technical part of our entry and exit strategy. Of course, later on, I'll be sharing with you the market insights on the entry and exit strategy. So we can piece both things together, then you can apply it for your own property journey. Then for this one, we also re-look at numbers to see how much we eventually sell at, how much are we taking back, and eventually we look at how much dispensable funds we have after selling. So here comes the exciting part. The exciting part is, okay, now I know for entry and exit strategy for myself, if I buy at a certain price, if I actually exit at a certain time, when at a certain age, what kind of growth am I expecting? When I have all this kind of growth, then I know, am I on track or am I off track? So this is a personal entry and exit strategy timeline to give you or them or my clients clarity on where are we at and by when can we achieve this. So you don't have to see fortune teller. You don't have to 算命 or whatever to know this because these are all very logical planning. And then this is for the wife. Okay. So fortunately for their case, after applying all the 3 steps in front, we were able to sell off their property with just 2 viewings at 820,000. If you remember just now, their valuation was 770. But we still managed to sell it at 820,000 with COV, and believe me, the buyer have to squeeze every single cent out of it to pay for this house. And we also realized that this house has a very unique type, and that's why we actually use a very strong video marketing. Our video crew is actually from MediaCorp. We use very good video crew to make sure that the video quality is super good. And if you don't know, you can go to my TikTok and have a look because my TikTok is under Kelly Lin at Live for Home SG. And we also make sure there's enough views to bring viewers over. And that's why 2 viewings were sold. So this is a picture of them buying a property in Promenade Peak. We're very, very happy. And then also, remember the last one is how do you actually start planning towards your exit, and also how can you build positive cash flow for your next property and so on. So for all my clients, actually we have this thing called the Property Wealth Report. So why is this Property Wealth Report very important? Jennifer, you should have received it already, right? So why is it very important, Jennifer? Okay, I've enough talking. Maybe Jennifer, can you tell us how the Property Wealth Report is valuable for you as a consumer? Yes, right. So what kind of information are you getting from your Property Wealth Report? You get updated market insights, right? You get like your updated property estimated value. And you also know the progress of your property so that you can assess whether you want to move forward with it or you want to take a back seat. And not to even mention the free gifts that come along with it, right, Jennifer? So for all of us who are watching this, You know, some of y'all will possibly be buying something with me, and I see a few familiar faces as well. I do send this out to my clients whenever we finish purchasing a property because we have, happy surprise, good. Because we do want to make sure that today, if you buy a property already, you want to know that your property is actually performing or not. And by looking at the property wealth report, which is very good quality report, you will actually have 12 pages worth of report for you to look through carefully all the numbers. And then you don't have to be looking at the pamphlet, the flyers that the agents are giving you, but rather you look at a report that is specially done for you. And then after that, you will know that, oh, I know what is about my property. And then you don't have to hearsay this, hearsay that. It gives you so much more clarity. Plus, nobody will resist a sweet surprise that comes along with it, which this time around is a massage gun. So I'm very happy to gift all of you with this, for my successful clients. So in summary, this is what the SAFE framework is about. Number one, we want to set clear, realistic property goals to move you forward to your next step in the 3 to 10 years. We want to also help you assess where are you at right now to see the gap and how can I come in to fill the gap for you. We will also help you to formulate your entry and exit strategy so you know that we will not be just a one-time off agent for you. We will also walk through everything with you from A to Z to make sure that you are covered throughout the entire journey towards your retirement planning. And also, we will also share with you how can you take charge of your planning, then you can apply it to your assessment to ensure you don't lose out in the market. Once you've done all the 3 steps properly ahead, you will now go into your expansion. The expansion is where it's either like for Desmond and my Lemin, they actually now have 2 properties, right? And they can actually have one to rent out, one to own stay, or flip this into the other one, and eventually that one will be for rental. So we are progressing into expansion of your net worth, expansion of a property portfolio, and eventually my end goal is to get you into a passive income situation. Alongside with this is also the exact framework that I'm doing for myself and possibly for my agents that are with me. We also guide them on how can they do this for themselves and for their client. By having this whole SAFE framework, I'm very, very happy to say that 100% of our client has actually benefited from this. Now, of course, I don't know where you are at these points. I highly encourage you to think about this if this is for you. Because if you think this is for you and you do want to, explore more options, later on we can tell you what you can do with it, okay? So back to this, we also notice that actually now more and more people are having higher household income tier. And if you're actually earning much more than how you used to do, the question is, have you actually planned ahead or not? Most of us are thinking, let's just enjoy the increased income and so on and so forth. But the thing is that even if you're earning a bit more and you're not actually doing the right thing to let your money work harder for you, then is it something that we are losing out or not? Because at the end of the day, our own retirement is for ourselves. Our own future proving is for ourselves. It's really not for anyone else. So if we are given a chance to be one of the lucky ones who have higher salary now, I highly encourage you to think about what can you do next with your current profile, to think about what can you hedge against inflation amidst the rising cost of living, to think about what can you do about your retirement planning. Can you use real estate as one of the major tools to work yourself up so that you can have a more comfortable retirement in due time? So when we want to plan for our retirement, we really cannot neglect the top 3 expenses in Singapore. And they are housing, food, and transport. So although, some of us may drive, some of us may not drive. But the truth is, we still need to cater for this regardless of where you are at. Because all of this will eventually make up to about 64% of our total household spending. You like it or not, you're at this age 30, 40, 50, or even 60 years old. This is going to form as part of our biggest household spending. And we need to have enough funding to come in so that we can take care of ourselves when we choose that we want to sack our bosses. So let's take a look at real estate at a different perspective. I'm going to take into accounts like insurance. So a show of hands now, no hands over here. So can you tell me, everyone here, I'm seeing like more than 20 people here right now. Tell me, how many of you buy insurance? If you buy insurance, can you give me a 1? If you don't have insurance, give me a 2. This is a very simple question. You should be able to answer. So I have Darren, Dora, Fiona, Jennifer, Ken, Michael, some of the names I don't know, Tony, Vincent, and all of you. Tell me, please talk to me. Do you buy insurance? If you buy insurance, please give me a 1. Okay, please don't let me talk on my own because I get really, 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 really lonely. Can you? Are you guys buying insurance? If you buy insurance, can you type me a 1? Good. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, if you are using your phone, okay, it's easy to type. If you are using your desktop, very good because you can see things clearly. Ooh, yeah. That's not all, man. I have more people here. Come on, help me out. Help me out, please. Help me out. If you are someone who has bought insurance, give me a 1. Help me out, guys. And if you don't buy insurance, I am not an insurance believer. Give me a 2. Come on, don't buy Medishield also insurance. don't buy insurance. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so since all of you are so shy, Ken, I thought you just texted me hi just now. Ken, I need your involvement. I'm getting bored. So the rest of you, the very, very shy ones, I hope to see more of an engagement later. So let's take a look at insurance in a different perspective, okay? Now, for most of us, when we buy insurance at our younger age, okay, now I'm not too far from age 35, but I'm still above age 35. So at age 35, okay, I believe 99.99% of those of you who are watching this video has definitely an insurance premium for 1 million of coverage. I'm very, very sure because this is quite a basic amount that we should have, right? So let's say at the age of 35, you are willing to pay $500 to buy an insurance premium coverage of 1 million. Okay. And then as you go on to 40 years old, you realize that nowadays inflation is very fast. 1 million is no longer enough. I have bigger stakes, higher stakes, and stuff like that. Then you probably will have increased your premium to, let's say, 1.5 million somehow or another. Or maybe you'll buy more protection in some way or another. And that's the time you realize, actually, my premium has increased to 1,005 or so, right? So with this, if you are someone who is buying insurance and you realize that my coverage is not enough and you are actually willing to pay more for the premium package so that you can actually have bigger coverage. And as you fast forward, go on to age 45, I'm also very, very sure that at the age of 45, by the time you want to buy insurance premium for a coverage of, let's say, 2 million, by the time the amount you need to pay is probably 2,000 to 3,000. So if you take a look at the flow of how insurance coverage works, the amounts that you are paying in terms of a premium also gradually increases as the coverage increases. So all the more actually when it comes to real estate, because at the end of the day, what we want to do when we buy insurance is we want to buy in on certainty. We want to make sure that we are protected or we leave enough money for our family if we are not around anymore. And these are all certainty that we want to build in because as I'm working, as I'm fit, I'm well, I want to buy in on all this. So I know I'm planning ahead for future. But those of you who buy insurance, you will know that actually the growth is very, very low. But yet we're willing to buy because we know that this is 100% will pay out one, right? But how can we now link this into real estate? Because when it comes to insurance, we don't look at profit. We actually look at certainty. But when it comes to real estate, we always make this biggest mistake is, I want to make money, I want to have profit, I want this, I want that. Then eventually you realize that actually I don't make profit, I don't want any more and so on. So as such, you realize actually those people who are at age 40, they have already bought a treasure at Tampines in 1.9 million in the year 2019. Those who bought during that time, very, very lucky. Because why? As they move on to the age 47, they realize that, Pinery now is selling at 3.4 million in 2026, which means that Pinery itself over the span of 7 years from the time they buy, it's already 3.4 million, which means 5 room has already grown up to 3.4 million. Those people who bought at 1.9 million, good or not? Their value has already increased within 7 years by almost 2 times already. So with this, is it something that they do intentionally? Actually, no. Are they still paying mortgage? Are they still leveraging on the bank to, grow their wealth? Yes. But fortunately, because of the overall how our government actually plans for our master plan and how property market will move, they actually allow property to move upwards in a very steady manner. And that's why people who actually enter early, they get to benefit from all this. And now this treasure at Tampines is already worth at least a 3 million to 3.5 million. So for those of you who own a unit at treasure at Tampines, very lucky you, because they already have benefited from the growth. So what we want to do is we want to see our property actually going through an upward trend. You want to make sure that your property go this way because at the age of 65, whether or not you make money, this actually is just a byproduct. Because why? He already bought it at 1.9 million. What can we buy with 1.9 million now? With Pinery at 3.4 million and Treasure at Tampines right now valued at 3 to 3.5 million depending on the facing and the floor level. Even if he does nothing, am I right to say that this amount is still better than where he started off from wherever he was before? Let's say he owns a HDB at 1 million. Is it still better than he staying put at the HDB 1 million because he has taken one step up to do this, and now because of the market and overall inflation and rising cost of living and everything else, he now has a higher net worth? Was he thinking about profit at that time? Probably, yeah. But I guess anyone who's buying a 5-room will be buying for property needs more of anything else. So I want to highlight to you, those of you who are watching this video, whether you're watching this video live or whether you're watching this as a replay, I do want you to take note that taking the first step as early as you can to plan towards your property elevation is important, because later on you'll understand how our government is going to steer the market direction, and then you can take some faith in what you are doing right now. So forget about profit, but focus on your net value, because the rest will come in place. So how do we create certainty? How do we create certainty? Okay. Some of us who are thinking, hey, I want to, okay, now I don't think about profit anymore. I want to think about how can I create certainty in my property. One of the very important way is we look at market trends. Okay. Earlier, I already shared with you that actually in the Lehman crisis, since 2008 onwards and before, you may notice that there was actually no cooling measure at that time. All the Ws are world events. So these world events are all the trends that has been happening in terms of the property market in new launch, in RCR, OCR, and CCR. And of course, the blue line refers to the CCR, the yellow line refers to the RCR, and the red line refers to the CCR. And these properties actually has appreciated a lot over this time. And I'm sure you have heard people saying, property bubble, property bubble. Why is there a property bubble? The reason why is there a property bubble is also because there were no cooling measure at that time. Our government did not step in, did not realize there is a need to control the market at that time, because they were all new in the property realm. So people could sell and buy and dump their property anytime when the occasion calls for it. And that also means that today I buy, tomorrow I sell to someone else is also fine. There's no additional tax. So with this bo ching hu situation, people trade properties like they trade shares. And that causes the downfall of the property during the Lehman crisis. But after that, our government actually learned a very big lesson. And that's the time that they decided that I am going to take charge of the property market. Because if I don't do that, our Singapore being such a small land, our property go haywire, it is not good for our economy. And that's why from 2009 onwards all the way until now, we have been actively creating cooling measures. The reason is because they want to actively be ahead of the market, hold handbrake when the market is going up too fast, and release it when the market is going down too fast, so that there is always a balance. But the truth is there's no way to strike a balance, because our land is just so small and we have a lot of investors coming into Singapore. However, it's definitely better than not doing anything at all. Agree? Because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that they have upper hand about how the market will go. They can slow down the market, they can speed up the market. It depends on what they want. And as citizens, I'm happy to say that this has given us so much more certainty. Now, why? Because during the year 2019 to year 2013, you can see back-to-back cooling measure over here. And because of all these cooling measure, actually property was supposed to go up very fast, but actually took a slower turn. They actually went up, but they actually slowed down in the uptrend. And then after that, the cooling measure also started to take effect. And that's where things become a bit even more normalized. That's great because they need to slow down the growth of the property market. And then after that, in 2017 and even until 2019, that's a time where COVID was starting to happen already, right? And that's why people also they also noticed that property prices actually went up a lot because of supply and demand at that time. And then CCR projects start to see a downturn because there wasn't a lot of launches in CCR project at that time. And then fast forward after COVID, which is in the year 2020, everyone who bought a property during post-COVID actually made the most. So unfortunately, some of us actually didn't make, some of the clients that I've seen didn't actually make good money from post-COVID because they were buying in the very last phase, or they were buying at a very high price, or they chose a bad facing or bad layout, and etc. But 80% of the people who bought property during COVID actually still make money. So with that, you can notice, hey, this explains why lah, because the trend actually keep going upwards. So did our government started introducing cooling measure? Yeah, they did. But so one question that my client asked me is, even if they did, the property still went up so much? Of course. Because during this time, the new launch, or rather the GLS, were actually very little. So with a low supply but high demand due to increasing population, property prices still has to go up. However, some might be very worried, will property prices go up and cause another property bubble? I cannot promise you there's not going to be a property bubble. But looking at the overall trend, you can notice that actually our cooling measure is there in place to make sure they slow down whatever needs to slow down. And if it goes haywire, I'm very sure our government will come out with something even more brutal to bring it down. As of now, they already brought down the prices in a very steady manner. So I do not think there's going to be a property bubble. Just be mindful that, most importantly, the previous high is always lower than the next high. The previous high is always lower than the next high. So on and so forth, right? So if you are waiting to buy a property or you are waiting to upgrade, the question you want to ask yourself is, actually, there's already a correction during this time in the year 2020. That's why people actually make money at that time. And there was actually a normalized situation in the CCR area. And also, I'm seeing a slower growth over here and for the RCR as well. So if I want to find an opportunity right now, the question is, do I want to be the one buying at the corrected market, or do I want to be the one buying at a high? So hold on to this question, because later I'll share with you even more trends. So most of us are wondering, which type of property is most assuring to buy? Okay, now I need your interaction. Now I need you to tell me. Okay, let's make a wild guess, all right? This is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay, and also this is all of the above is D. All right, so I want all of you who are here, please work with me. Work with me, give me some interaction while I catch a drink. If you were to choose a type of property to buy, okay, which type of property is most assuring to buy? Okay, Jennifer. More. Okay. We have walking distance to MRT. We have Jennifer who picks everything in here. What else? Tony, Ken. All right. I have Janelle who is choosing future transformation. Very good. So Ken is still very quiet. Are you with me, Ken, or are you following? Ken, I welcome question, all right, and also Tony. And then we have Dora, Darren, and all of this. Please, I welcome any questions if I'm not clear enough, okay? So some of us are wondering which type of property is most assuring to buy. And of course, to answer your question, we know that Singapore is going to go through a car light city in due time, which means that basically these are all the connectivity that our government is actively working towards, so that we can literally take MRT everywhere, and 8 to 10 minutes to MRT is a, notice I put, is a must. Because why? Next time when you want to sell your property, everybody will be asking you, you need to take 3 bus stops to MRT? Well, then this is going to be a problem, because the property you are buying is going to now become the 20%. Because in future, 80% of the properties in the market will be 8 to 10 minutes walk to MRT. And yours will be 2 to 3 bus stops away, which can pose as a potential threat. So if you are considering to upgrade, I highly encourage you to think about buying a property within MRT distance, because this is going to be the future of Singapore. And knowing that there's actually redevelopment plan island-wide. I know it can be confusing to decide, hey, I should buy the west side or not, I should buy the north side or not, or I should buy like Punggol area, Paya Lebar Air Base is also good, or even the Greater Southern Waterfront and stuff. I'm very, very confused and I don't know which one to choose. So at this moment, there's no way for me to tell you whether which transformation is the best. But to me, when I want to look at, the scale of the transformation, the scale of transformation will tell me a lot on how much our government is willing to spend money to transform this area. Because if they are willing to spend money to transform this area, it also means that the value of this area cannot so say, right? Singapore government must make sure the value over here also goes up. Because the value here also needs to go up, now you can see. Greater Southern Waterfront is actually 2,000 hectare in size. 2,000 hectare in size means that it's the biggest among every of the transformation over here as reflected here. So I actually simplify it for you is because I feel that it's very important for you to take this as a reference because there's too many information in the market. It's so difficult to identify good buys because nobody can tell you which is a good buy. But by knowing the scale of the development, it gives you a very good way to filter where is the government heading towards. So we also have T5, which is 1,080 hectare. We have Greater Southern Waterfront, which is 2,000 hectare. We also have commonly thought after, which is Paya Lebar Air Base. So from here, I can already highlight three for you already. One is Greater Southern Waterfront. Another one is Paya Lebar Air Base, as well as T5 in Changi area. So with the rest, of course, there are also Long Island, 800 hectare. This one also not bad. This one also can, which is why Vela Bay sold so well. And then there's also One North and all these, but all these are pretty much the smaller ones. And if you notice Tuas Megaport, this one is a port lah, where you put all the ships and stuff. So that one is definitely not for living. Nobody wants to stay there because the air there is probably a bit more polluted. And Jurong Lake District is also good because it's where the interchange and the second CBD is coming up. But property prices is not going to be cheap. And the question is, buying Jurong at this price, is it still worth it? So I don't want to overwhelm you with too many information, but I'm going to give you a very brief idea on where can you focus on in order to put your money. And this is also one of the ways for you to identify a possible good buy area for long-term holding to safeguard yourself against a higher cost of living in Singapore. And then this is the second clue that I always talk about is the land betterment charge. So this land betterment charge is a tax on the increased value in land because our government is going to increase the planning, the direction to allow it to be used more intensively than before, such as infrastructure improvement, improved planning decisions, or even changes in land use and etc. So this land betterment charge gives us a good head start about actually where is our government heading towards more funds. And then the property value there also likely increase more because of the bigger scale of transformation. So with that, I'm happy to say that, in the news, they have already narrowed down for us that these are the top 5 areas that has the biggest increment in land betterment charge. And one of them is, top of the chart is Bayshore, which is the Long Island transformation. And then you also have East Coast Park, which is the future BTO and stuff. You also have Marina area, which is Greater Southern Waterfront area. You have Ang Mo Kio Bishan Lorong Chuan area, which there's going to be a big development coming up called the Chuan Grove. It's going to be 2 developments combined into one by Qing Xian. So that is also going to be one of blockbuster launch of the year. It's going to be probably end of this year or early next year. Finally, Telok Kurau, Changi, and part of Changi Road and Joo Chiat. So Janelle, you should be very happy because this is also one of the area that has increment in land betterment charge. So with that, you actually have very good sensing already. So instead, besides just knowing about the scale of the future transformation, you now also know where will our government be increasing the land value there because this is the tax that they charge to developers for changing of use and increasing the infrastructure. So if you still need clarity, I've also shown you the map to give you some heads up. Oh, okay, actually this is the map and this is how things are moving. Wait a minute. Okay, great. So with that, it also shows you that, this is the whole Long Island transformation. This is the Long Island transformation. This is also the Siglap Bayshore area. This is the Greater Southern Waterfront area as well as the Ang Mo Kio Bishan Lorong Chuan area. So this is good because it helps me to advise you or any of my clients better when it comes to choosing the right kind of property to buy. So the future land price sold okay, because of the increased land betterment charge when developer bids, has a direct relation to how much they will eventually have break-even point for the land that they bid. So this means that developers who are bidding these areas that I just mentioned will now have to pay a higher land cost to bid that area. And that explains why Bayshore was bid at 1,388 PSF per plot ratio. And that's why eventually when it comes to the actual launch, they have to be selling at 2,005 all the way to 3,003 per square feet. So some of them will be wondering, how come is there such a big, this kind of price? Like how come it can be 2,005 to 3,003 and people are still buying? At the end of the day, it's all about supply and demand. The entire Siglap area, Bayshore area, Bella Bay is the only launch over there, and the rest are resale condo which are very old. And the newer ones is only the Seaside Residences and Amber Park. So with very low options available in the market, and the price is really about the same, people will tend to take a more favorable position towards new one. And if you're still not sure how these whole things work, you can still continue staying here because I'll be sharing with you how are people choosing properties so you can have some unfair advantage when it comes to you choosing your own property. So the future land cost, the land cost will help you to see clearly, are you future proving your assets or not? Because earlier I mentioned to you, whatever things that you are doing must help you to hedge against inflation, must help you to plan towards retirement, must help you to future-proof the entire plan so you don't end up overpaying, but you know exactly what is in for you. So the land cost, a continuation of the land cost is, these are the land prices of upcoming GLS plots. I cannot stop that the future land cost is going to increase because our entire Singapore, if you remember the entire chart over there, are going through major transformation island-wide in the whole of Singapore. So since they are going through major transformation island-wide, I mean, not including the scale of it, we need to also recognize that it is also inevitable the land price has to go up. A long price with increasing land costs, increasing the land betterment charge, also construction costs and material costs. So if today our groceries are going to be more and more expensive, it also means that the construction is also going to be more and more expensive. Petrol cost is more expensive, electrical is expensive, everything is going to be more expensive. So that's why property also will be directly affected. So today, if we put our money into real estate, and we know that this is the entire direction of where our government is going to spearhead, with increasing cost of land, increasing cost of property, whatever stage you are entering into for a real estate, the earlier you enter into for a real estate, the faster you are able to grow from the future direction. And that is the exact way you can do to future-proof your asset. So fortunately, a lot of things are transparent right now in Singapore's market. It's different from overseas property like Malaysia, Indonesia, and even China. I hear a lot of stories about all these areas, and it can be like the developer go missing. It can be a scam. It can be agencies that are doesn't have a license and all this kind of thing, or even the property price, the land also can be like very varied in the way they price them. So all these are very regulated in Singapore, and that's why you see that even for OCR, the future will be 1,300 PSF per plot ratio. 1,300 PSF per plot ratio would mean that this is the new norm. And if you're looking at RCR, the future will be 1,003 to 1,004. Even latest Dover is going at 1,556 PSF per plot ratio. So Jennifer, you're holding on to the property that you are at right now. I'm happy also to say that, although we are not ready to sell right now, I feel that the upcoming direction will help you in your property value as well because you already have a positioning in where you are at a good location. So for CCR also, this is where the CCR area will be spearheading. So I will not be surprised in the future if River Valley area is going to cross 4,000 per square feet. But as of now, we don't see that happening. But eventually, it probably will be at 3,005 PSF as the average already. And RCR will likely also be around 3,000 PSF already. And also OCR will probably also be around 2,006 to 3,000 PSF, inching towards higher 3,000 PSF next time. So with this, today we are able to spot a property at a lower than average prices. I do feel that these are actually how the window of opportunity can open up. So whatever that I'm sharing with you is the already cast in stone direction because it's all shown in our master plan, all shown in our land bid prices and break-even prices. If you want them, you can let me know. I can send them to you. And this will be the new price. Earlier, I was mentioning to you that Lentor Central, the one that's bidded by Guaco Land, which is the last plot over there, the 8th plot. Their land is going to at 1,200 PSF per plot ratio, and that means that in order to break even, the developer has to sell at 2,003 PSF. In order for them to have 20% margin, they need to sell at 2,008 PSF. Of course, 30% margin is 3,000, and I really don't think this is possible at this point of time. So 2003 to 2008 PSF in an OCR area. Some of you might be wondering, Xiao, it's going to happen. Whether you think it's crazy or not, fortunately, it's going to happen. So it depends on whether you are looking at it as an opportunity or looking at it as not opportunity. Because if you're looking at it as an opportunity, then I can now present opportunities to you because there are some other better buys than this. And I wouldn't want you to go into that knowing that this is going to be the break-even price or even the launch price. And then there's also Tanjong Rhu Road, which is Vela Bay has already sold at 1,388 PSF per plot ratio. It's actually selling and already sold at 1,455 PSF per plot ratio, which means in order for them to break even, they need to sell at 2,006. And the normalized rate will be 20% margin, which is around 3,001. This is incongruent with why Vela Bay was also sold at 3,003, because this is how the pricing strategy works for all developers. And no developers want to make losses when they sell. That's also why you can take confidence in what you should be buying, but not overpaying. Dover itself is going at 1,556. Crazy, I don't understand. And eventually, they're also going to sell at about 3,002 to 3,003 PSF. So by knowing this, let's take a look at Dunnan, because Dunnan is a CCR plot, and they actually bought it at 1,625 PSF per plot ratio. And with that, their break-even is 2,008 with their margin at about 3,004 PSF. So this is good because it gives you some direction on actually, if I want to buy in CCR, I should be expecting to buy CCR at maybe 3,000 to 3,001 PSF because the future will be 3,005 onwards. So some of the opportunities that we are looking at is One Marina Garden. One Marina Garden is a CCR area but selling at RCR land price. And it's going at 1,401 PSF per plot ratio with the average PSF at 2008 to 2009. For some of us who are thinking of, I want to buy at a good location with a very low entry price, actually one opportunity is over here. That's one example of what we meant. Since the rest is going to be 3,003 to 3,004, if I'm buying a CCR at 2008, I feel that it's actually very affordable. And I also bought one. Later I'll share more with you. Lentor Garden going at 2003. It's also very affordable because why? The future of Lentor Central, which is the last plot, is going to be around 2007 to 2008. And lastly, also Alta is another example of an old price strategy where you can actually see that they are also able to go in at 2008 to 2009 PSF. Unlike Dover, which will be selling at around 3,002 to 3,003 in future. Okay? So the increasing land cost, how can it affect you? How to spot opportunity? Let's take a look at this. A case study. Lentor Garden, which is a launch that is happening right now. Their land bid was going at 920 PSF per plot ratio. And the next plot, which I was telling you about Guaco Land just now, was going in at 1,278 PSF per plot ratio. Within just a span of 1 year, there's already a difference of 358 PSF, which means that if today people who are intending to buy a property as an opportunity, okay, pay attention, if you're thinking to buy a property as an opportunity, I would definitely highly recommend that, we look at Lentor Garden as a priority. Because with this, the next plot of land is able to help you to push up your price because you know that they're going to sell at 2007 averaging. And if you are able to go in at 2003 PSF per plot ratio, if you are able to go in at 2003, knowing that the future, because we can calculate them, it's going to be at 2007, have you already buy into the certainty of 400 PSF? So you don't really get this a lot in the usual market because usually it's like that. It's like very about the same. But this is one significant difference that you can see, and I hope to help you to see when we are ready to do the next step ahead for our asset progression. And that's why with this, it actually gives you a similar effect like how people were buying properties during COVID period. So you don't get this often, but there are windows of opportunity like this now. So with this also, so what you want to expect is the RCR region and the CCR region in future. RCR region will be having 1,556 PSF per plot ratio, which is going to cost 3,000 to 3,002 per square feet. And also the last plot of River Valley is going to be, the River Green is also already launching at 1,420 per square feet, which means just 1 year before, River Green was going at 1,420 PSF per plot ratio. 1 year later, a further away from MRT, no location, no mall, no nothing, is already selling at 1,556. So that's why people who bought River Green, as much as I don't like River Green that much due to the very crazy, busy area and stuff, I'm very familiar with Great World area. I do feel that people who bought River Green, fortunately, is going to make money because of this future Dover area. All right, I know you're very happy, right? So one of my staff has bought a River Green property. Now he's nodding his head, and as I'm sharing with you, the future land price sold, the land price sold in whichever context will determine your future selling price. With this, use this as one of your main tools to assess your entry and your exit strategy. Use this to see, oh, okay, now I buy this place, there's going to be future plot there, and with this auto elevation, next time I will be able to see an increment in my growth. So this gives you so much more confidence because we now have 2 stages of land cost. This line that I've drawn here, these are actually old land costs. These are actually new land costs. And with one side being old land costs, one side being new land costs, we now are able to make a very clear decision on what we should be doing, because I want to enter at old land cost to use the new land cost to push up my property price. And that's how also we use it to hedge against inflation. We use it to grow towards our retirement, and we don't really care about profit at this point because these are a byproduct. So I hope this explanation is clear to you, because this is only one tool that we use to work on the macro factor of selecting when is a good time to buy property. So are you guys learning or not? Because I have been talking for I don't know how long. How long have I been talking? 1 hour and 1 hour. I've been talking for 1 hour. Are you guys learning? If you feel that you are learning, can you give me a why? Give me a why, please. If you feel that you are learning and I'm clear, I'm not too fast, give me a why. If you feel that I'm very fast, please tell me to slow down, okay? So I can slow down for you. And if you are learning, you feel that you're learning, give me a why, okay? Give me a why if you feel that I'm learning, okay? Good. And if you feel that, no, I'm too fast, please slow down, whatever, then just tell me to slow down. I can slow down for you. But I feel that I have actually slowed down in my speech quite a lot recently, right? I think I did. Great. So the rest of you, you're still watching the video. I hope you are. I hope you find this video well. I hope you find this webinar well, because this is what we mean by land cost increment. Okay? Sterling Road, which is the very, very first plot that's happening in 2017, actually bidded their land in 1,650 PSF per plot ratio. As we go up to 2024, known as Penrith, their land became 2026 PSF per plot ratio for break even. And then as we now go up to 2026 in Dover, we realize that they are going in at 2,756 PSF per plot ratio. So what does it mean? This is also one way for you to know that our government also planning for inflation now. Previously, land is like that, and then 1 year later, one benchmark goes up to this. So that's also the reason why people who actually bought Sterling, they actually enter at only 1,900 to 2,000 PSF. People who bought Penrith, because of harmonization, they entered at about 2,006 average PSF. Now this one is going to sell at 3,000 to 3,002 PSF. So with this, do you see that actually by going in early, you actually have a way to grow towards your retirement planning using real estate? So how do you spot an opportunity? When you want to spot an opportunity, you want to realize, actually just now I was sharing Penrith actually bought at a higher land cost than Sterling residences. But today, if we are able to buy Penrith, which is a harmonized project in 2008 PSF, and you realize actually Sterling is also selling at around 2008 per square feet, the question is why? So that's why Penrith actually sold 97% of their project, because this market right now, there's a chance for resale to be selling as close as a new launch price on par. So on usual market, actually resale is supposed to be lower than the new launch. But because of the scarcity in supply and the increasing demand, people have to lean towards resale to buy because they either cannot wait, or rather there's not a lot of new launch for them to select. So when actually Penrith was put up in the market as a harmonized project, Most of the people were very concerned on the PSF, but little do they realize that by the time they were concerned about PSF and didn't proceed with Penrith, the resale part has already started moving towards 2008 per square feet. So which one actually makes sense to you? Should you buy a resale or should you buy a new launch? The answer is for you to answer. Because from a financial point of view, definitely new launch makes sense because you're supposed to have a higher purchase price than a resale. But why is that so? So is there an opportunity right now because the market is confused? There's not a lot of demand, there's not enough supply. That's why people don't want to wait, they go into resale just to buy for certainty, or so they thought. But if, at whichever, whether you buy a resale or you buy a new launch over here, what will happen for sure is Dover is going to cross 3,000 per square feet. Whether you buy at 2008 or you buy at 2008 here or 2008 there, this is going to be the one that pull you along to grow. So it is also another way to let you know that when the market is heading in 2027, the RCR land is going to be selling at the current CCR price. And the future CCR price will be setting a new benchmark, and then the rest will follow suit. So OCR land will now be selling at the current CCR price, RCR price. So how do you actually choose a good property is, at the end of the day, what we want to achieve is we want to make sure that we are able to buy now at a lower land cost and leveraging on low interest rate because interest rate is still low. And then after that, we're able to sell high because of all the future land costs to help you to future proof. So that's what we mean by buying into a V-shaped window at this point of time, which doesn't happen often, but is happening right now. Next, also in this case, some of my clients actually ask me, hey, actually since there is a V-shaped market right now, and since that the future price is going to be like that, should I be buying into a resale? Because if I buy into a resale, maybe I can still grow. So let me give you a case study, all right? So this case study is to let you know that the gap for some areas, like just now what I was sharing with you is pertaining to Sterling and Penrith. On the whole as a market, you can notice that the new sales is in blue and the resale is in orange. There is a gap of 47.5% in the year 2025. Okay, so now it's a question. I want to ask you, okay, with a widening price gap between this in the year 2025, as a buyer, would you buy into a resale or would you buy into a new sale? Okay, so, you hold to this question first. Maybe we'll do this exercise easier. Okay, so this is an example in the year 2012 as a case study right now. City Square Residence is a freehold and is immediate ready and at 3 years old. Whereas Riversail is a 99 years leasehold and is a new launch because it needs 4 years to build. At the same time, if you are a buyer, would you buy City Square Residences, which is immediately as a resale, you can occupy it and start renting out or staying inside? Or would you buy Riversail, which is a leasehold, 99 years, and you need to wait for 4 years to build? Which one will you choose? Would you choose A or would you choose B? If you choose A, you type A. If you choose B, you type B. Let me drink water. Because I think nobody will reply me. I'm very sad. Thinking. I think they're thinking hard. So which one will you all choose? Hello. Hi. Can you help me or not? Can you help me? Tell me, in the year 2012, City Square Residence is a freehold, 4-bedroom, okay? And ready to move in at 3 years old in the year 2012. And then Riversail was a new launch, but you need to wait for 4 years to build. If you were buying a property at that time, which one will you choose? Anyone? Oh, I think you all don't know how to choose, is it? Okay, all right. Anyone else? How about the rest? I keep seeing the familiar faces. Sell old house, buy both. Cute like you. Anyone else? I need to see new responses. Rachel, welcome in. Rachel, I hope you didn't miss much. We can send you the replay if you need to, Rachel. If you are the same Rachel that I know. Anyone else? Okay, make a wild guess lah, huh? All right, hi. Rachel, come play this game with me, okay? In the year 2012, would you buy a resale that is freehold, that is ready to move in and only 3 years old? Or would you buy a new launch, but wait 4 years? Of course, it's difficult to choose. One is move in, one is wait 4 years. But if the entry price is about the same, which one will you choose? Okay, play this game with me lah. You will choose A lah, Jennifer, right now? You choose A, right? Okay. So Jennifer choose A. And then Rachel, come. You want A or B? Okay, good. So we have a very fair group of selection in A and in B. Okay, so here's the verdict. Okay, normal because most people will choose a resale with immediate occupancy. But what actually happened? In the year 2000, there's two groups of people over here. If you see, 2005 to 2006, this period, people actually bought it. That means the first owner actually bought it at 600 plus PSF. With that, when they sell, they actually made a gain of 700 over 1,000 to even up to 1 million. But that particular one transaction that actually bought in 2012 has already entered at 1,186 PSF. By the time they decide to sell in another 5 years or 4 years plus, they only made a gain of 25,000. Surprisingly, people who actually bought in 2012 over here, did you notice that they actually made a loss as well when they were having similar holding period of about 5 to 4 years? They actually made a loss of 12 to 280,000. So most of us actually are wondering, actually what happened? Why is this happening? Because it always makes sense for them to buy a freehold. City Square is a very good location and I can rent it out. I can actually occupy it. But why do I make so little? So hold this thought, yeah? And at the same time, there's another group of buyers who bought reverse sale. Reverse sale with an average of about with an average of about 800 over PSF. So most of the owners who actually purchased in this period actually bought about 800 over PSF. And there's also a group of people who actually bought at the three bidders bought it at 750, 734 PSF. So these people who actually bought has also sold at similar time at around 4 years of holding and made a gain of 200 over 1,000 to 348,000. So why is it important? How come this is happening? How come this location is better? And this one is freehold with immediate move-in and only 3 years old 3 years old shouldn't have a lot of impact. But they're only making so little gain and some even lost money. While the other group need to wait for 4 years and some more is leasehold, some more still buy at a as a first owner price at 700 over PSF, which is really not very low because it's leasehold. And it's still able to make 278 to 348,000. Why is this so? So why is this so? Because in the resale price trend, there's this thing that people often overlooked. Okay? At this point when you're entering, even though it looks like a sweet deal, we cannot neglect the fact that actually a lot of the owners at the back before you, 99% of them has already purchased at a much lower price than you as you enter. As much as the deal looks very sweet and makes sense that it's a 3 years old only, the 3 years old also means that all the owners before you has already purchased at a much lower price, and the only person who really make the most are the first owners, and they have made 155% from where they entered in. But unfortunately, the one who is purchasing it eventually become the one that sets the record at 1,600 PSF. And that's why this person is the one who held on to all these people and bring forward the price. And eventually, is it easy for this person to offload? Those owners who are very happy because this person helped to push up the valuation, but this person has to be the one to tank all the load because why? Most of the owners over here have so much more flexibility to sell it at a lower price and make lesser money without much greed, and still able to make a lot more gains because they get to enter at a much lower price than this particular person. So for a straight 4 years, this buyer actually have to wait to break even. 5 years. This person have to wait 5 years for a stagnation in order to start seeing growth from there. By the time the person already old, because plus 5 years, if you're 40, you become 45 already. And then they start to see that there's actually another 28% of growth as compared to first owner who make 155%. So buyers or upgraders, whoever is watching this video, I want to ask you to think carefully. If you're really thinking of comparing a resale between a new launch, you want to be mindful that at the end of the day, most of the owners behind you has already bought at a much lower price. And you don't want to be the one that is setting the record for them, because after you set the record, any amount that they sell lower than you, they still make money. But you have to hold on to it to wait for the price to catch up before you can start seeing positive gains. And that's actually dangerous. But as compared to reverse sale, when the owners who bought it during this time, they are still able to hold it and still see about 18% or even more until here of gain throughout, and the growth has been steady. So that is what we mean by, as new launch, developer have this thing called auto elevation model. So this auto elevation is to help you to see things from a different perspective, because you need to do nothing. You just buy, sit back and relax, and you are auto elevated. So yes, does it come with sacrifice? Of course. You need to find lodging for the next 4 years. But if the property that you're holding on is able to cover your rental for free during the next 4 years, absolutely, I think there's no qualms about it. If the property you're buying is able to cover yourself for the next 4 years. So between a resale market and a new launch, the difference is that for a resale, there will come to one point that you may or may not be buying at a peak. And eventually you will go through this thing called stagnation, and that's what we call by trapped monies. These trapped monies will then pose as more risk for you, because this is the time that you will start losing faith in real estate. And the last thing that I have for you guys is to go through this, because I don't want, so far, none of my clients go through this. All right. So this is what we mean by understanding developers' pricing strategy by what is called auto elevate. If you go in at phase 1, you definitely have unfair advantage as compared to anyone else, because don't care about the market, just wait, buy and wait. So part of least resistance, at example, this is a key residence at Brookville. Very, very ulu, no MRT, nothing, and no even school. And these owners, when they bought, they are still able to go in at 1,006 that time, and still able to sell it at 2,000 to 2,001 upon exit. So this is still about a 300 to 400 PSF gain just by them buying into as a new owner and doing nothing at a very ulu location. If you have time, you can actually Google where is key residences at Brookville, because it's really very ulu. So why is all this thing happening, and why am I explaining this to you? Because at the end of the day, what I want to achieve for you is this. I want you to be mindful that right now, at whatever age you are, example, you are 35 or 40 years old, the property that you're holding on, let's say you're holding on, let's say our affordability is up to a 2 million assets. Allow this auto elevation to help you to push up your 2 million to, by the time you are 39 to 44 years old, which is 4 years down the road, your 2 million will have already appreciated 2.4 to 2.5 million, depending on where you're buying and, the exit plans, which I will have to do analysis for you to understand. And if you choose to do nothing, this will become part of your retirement amount. But if you choose to swap again, actually you still have a chance to do it, because by the time you swap again, you're around 40, 44, 43, or you're about 48. So with that, your property, if you swap, you can actually swap into a 3 million asset, and that 3 million asset can be a 3.5 million. So whatever it is you're doing, you're actually bringing yourself one step closer to your retirement age. So at the end of the day, whatever accumulated wealth you have done over here, you can still cash out and downsize into your HDB, cash out your extra funding and distribute them into pockets to wherever suits your needs, whether it's for daily needs, whether it's for passive income, whether it's for dividends or investments. You can have the flexibility to do it because of the overall market sentiment. So as such, we are still able to find a chance to understand why is it important for you to do it right now, because as young as you can, you are still able to buy and leverage on the bank. And eventually, with the increment in the future land costs and prices, you will be able to ride on this and future-proof your current purchase. All right, so now this is important. I have spoken a lot, and I don't know how much you guys have absorbed. And I know that because of my very busy schedule, I'm still able to take in last 5 spots. Last five spots for me to assist you for wherever positioning you are at this point. I know some of you might need some time to think about it, or some of you might be thinking whether you're suitable or not. And believe me, as much as I want to help you, I'm also not I'm also only left with last five spots. So those of you who are not able to scan right now, I will ask Daryl to put in the chat for you to click on it. There are a few options for you. There are also options for you to look at whether you are able to assess whether you're suitable for asset elevation or not. And there's also another option for you to decide whether you want to hop onto a Zoom call with me or not. There's also another option, which is the upcoming events in Expo, which is what we are going to be talking about over there. And this is where we are at over here. So this Expo event is where we are talking. So this is a PropNext initiative to talk about, hey, actually, which stage of property wealth are you at now? And that's where our Ismail and Calvin Fong is going to talk about our capital, our net worth, and how to build your cash flow. The exact framework that I shared with you earlier. You're going to hear it from our big bosses, from Calvin Fong. You're also going to hear it from Ismail Gaffo and our founder of PropNext as well, this Alan and all of this. We are also going to have investors coming in to share about how do you identify good buy and all this. There's going to be international properties. There's going to be talking about HDB and EC, even for private and landed. Some of the things that will be covered in Expo are also the clarity things that what can you do to get clarity for your own roadmap? How do you build your capital? How do you look at overseas property if you're thinking about it? And eventually, if you're thinking about landed homes is also one of the things that they cover over that time. And also, we also have HDB owners. Should you upgrade? Should you hold? Or should you right size? So I have actually two options for you. One is maybe you will be thinking, hey, I want to have a tele call to see where I am at and hop into whatever is suitable for me to grow. Or I can actually go on to the Expo event and hear it from the super duper experts from our bosses of PropNext on how can you plan better. Past attendees have made a lot of good feedback about this Expo. We only do it once a year. And I think this will definitely benefit you because we have more than 100,000 engagement for last year as well. All right. So if you prefer, you can actually click on the link below and register, and I'll see how I can put you in on the tele call with me. Or otherwise, if you want to WhatsApp, you can directly WhatsApp to me from this QR code over here, provided you can scan. And I still have plenty of things that I'm not able to cover today because of the time constraint, because it's 9:30 right now. So I'm going to just give you guys a couple of minutes, all right? For those of you, I'm not finished yet because I got one last part. Okay? Okay, so while you guys are actually registering, I want to share with you a bit more on what are things that we can do next step to plan ahead. So what kind of next step are we looking at to plan ahead? So more information about me is what I do is I specialize in asset elevation model. So I have familiar faces here. I have clients outside that they know whenever they want to think about restructuring their asset portfolio, they will look into what we can do for them. And we've got plenty of Google reviews to help you to take confidence in what we do. And also more than 1,000 clients over my past 15 years of experience. What we want to be dedicated to do to help you out is to ensure you are able to benefit and maximize from where you are at this point. Also, if you feel that, hey, you have not been following me and you want to see more of my contents, my name is Kelly. You can see me in Live for Home SG. You can Google it. You can find me in Instagram, find me in TikTok, find me in YouTube, and even go to Facebook and check me out. I have a personal account under Kelly Lin. You can also check out what I do as a team, and my family is inside as well. And I have been consistent achiever in PropNext. We have been consecutive 2 and now coming 3 years millionaire in PropNext as well. And we lead a team of 1,000 people. So don't worry, you are in safe hands. We have enough support to help you in whichever you are. And also we have also worked very closely with Calvin Fong. Whatever information that we are sharing with you is to ensure that we are aligned with what our bosses want us to deliver to you. So you have unfiltered sharing. If you are in YouTube, do help me to click like and subscribe. You can type Live for Home SG and check out all the contents and analysis that I do inside. as well as my TikTok account. You can check me out on TikTok. As mentioned, you can find me everywhere. It's impossible that you cannot see me. So whichever account that you are in right now, just go check me out, type me in and follow me, because you will be fed with plenty of property contents that you might gain some insights from. And also, if you are sitting on losses, we also have helped clients to recuperate loss, and all it takes is just probably one flip, and they can cover back whatever they could have made. So one of the example is my client actually bought an unprofitable property in year 2017. He bought Forte Suites, lost money like crazy, never believed in property ever again, and eventually after that she lost 280,000 in CPF, and it was a big blow to her. When I met her, she was devastated because she don't know how to get out from this big mess. So we managed to help her to exit the property. We actually did a very big refurbishment of the property for her at our cost. And then we managed to sell it within 2 months. Previous agent was selling it for 6 months or 9 months, I can't remember. And then we helped her to swap over to Water Garden 3-bed plus study at 1.56 million at that time. And fast forward in 2025, 3 years down the road, we managed to sold off the Water Garden. We are the first one to sell over there at 1.96 million. I still managed to get her a rental income of 4 months at 3,008 because of the buyer's request, and I squeezed out some rental for her. And eventually, over the next 3 years, she managed to make a total gross gain of 415,000. And this 415,000 can actually cover all the losses she has made previously, and still sits on positive gain of about 200,000 rounded up. So as someone who is really, really very discouraged from property context, I know some of you may have. Believe me, I will do everything I can to help you get out from wherever you are. But I hope that doesn't happen to you, because we all want to make good money from property. So once again, I'm also a trainer in PropNext. We do plenty of training for PropNext agents. And also, we also host events for clients so that they can learn more from it. And if you feel that, hey, actually, from whatever experience that I'm sharing with you, we are able to work together, and you know that this is someone that you can trust on and you want to know more, again, last call. My last 5 spots is there. Left 3, right? Okay, my last 3 spots is there. Sign up with me, and then I see what I can do to help you, okay? All right, so I'm seeing you guys still staying on. I'm going to give you all some time. We have Darren, Dora. We also have Tony. Then we also have Michael and Ken and all of you. So I hope this webinar finds you well and also can help you in what you are planning to do. And if there's anything else, you can drop me questions in the chat. Otherwise, in another 3 more minutes, we're going to end the webinar. And finally, I do want to stress that the best property decisions are not made by chance. They are made by choice. So of course, with the right strategy as well. So take charge of your future, not just your home. All right. My name is Kelly. I'm an asset elevation strategist and also a certified legacy planner. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. And if not otherwise, thank you for staying till the end, and I'm happy to help. We'll give them some time. Good night, Jennifer. Good night, Rachel. Rachel, I need to talk to you offline. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Interestingly, welcome. Welcome, Eileen. How do I play music at the end? Swap screen, is it? Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't even realize I was on Wi-Fi, airplane mode. All right. Okay, shall we? Oh, Darren and Ken is still here. Michael is still here. Bye.